What's up? Rob here, Old City Vapor, with another little short episode of Weird Wednesday. Uh, this one is about a little. Some people know about it, some people don't. Let's just leave it at that, or let's just say that for now to get it started. It's about a little stretch of highway. I've grown up here in Florida. Born here in St. Augustine, lived here my whole life, been all over the place, traveled the roads here, all over the state, since I started driving and up and just until now even, I'm still all over the place a lot of times. There's one place that I've just always hated driving, and that little stretch of highway comes off of 95 in Daytona and goes over all the way to Tampa. And it's known as I-4. And I just hate that part. I just hate that highway. There's a little stretch of highway there. Let's just a little bit of history. And don't quote me on this because I'm no historian. I obviously wasn't around back then, so I don't know. But everything that I've read, back in the 1800s, 1860 or whatever, there was apparently a little road through the woods, cut through the woods. There was a hand operated ferry that used to go across the St. Johns River. There was some people that were in the area. They tried to make a little town gathering, whatever. I believe it was called the St. Joseph's Colony, I believe is what it was called. About 1880 or something like that, there was a little railroad station there that was built there. Anyways, the people that started tried to start this little colony. There was a doctor there, and the colony never really got going that good, because right away several of the people came down with what they thought was the yellow fever or whatever. Anyways, 4 or 5 of them died. This big freak out of the yellow fever thing. To get the bodies away from everybody, they basically took them out in the woods and buried them. I think there was 4 or 5 people that died right away. The guy that was heading up the colony, he was called further over west, over to the Tampa area or something, and upon getting there, 3 or 4 days or a week later, he ended up dying. And the information about the people that he buried kind of died with him. So I don't know, I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but that's sort of the basis of, what I've read about and heard about and talked to people about. Anyway, later on in years, going up into the 50s or so, the graves were marked and everything, but then just, over from 1870 to 1950 or so, they kind of got lost in the shuffle. Nobody really knew what was going on. There was people that said there was some bodies buried there. No, there's no bodies there. Yeah, there are. There's wooden grave markers, which wooden grave markers don't last forever, so they kind of rotted. People moved them or attempted to move them or whatever. There's all kinds of stories about what happened to the people, what happened to the graves, and this and that. Anyways, moving on up into the years, 1960, they're working on building I-4, the road that goes from Daytona all the way over to Tampa, St. Pete, Tampa area, whatever. There's that one little stretch that's kind of on the south end of the bridge that goes over St. Johns River, known as the Dead Zone. And every single time I've ever been on I-4 here in Florida, I've seen an accident or I've actually been in an accident on I-4 in that area. Always something weird happening in that little, quarter, probably not even a quarter mile stretch of the highway there. When they were building the highway, they came across the graves of these 4 or 5 people. And they were like, what do we do? Do we move them? Yeah, we should move them. We should relocate them. Well, the hustle and the bustle, and the story goes that they weren't removed, they weren't relocated, they were just covered up, filled over, and whoosh, slapped the highway right over them. So that's the reason it's called the dead zone. And a little kind of weird part about that part of the highway, when they were building it, they got pretty close to being done, and a hurricane came through, and everybody was saying, oh, it's going here, it's going there, it's not coming here. Well, at the last minute, when they started paving over the supposed graves there of the 4 or 5 people, the hurricane did one of those turns and just came through there, boiled through there, and just kicked ass, ruined all kinds of stuff. I believe it was several weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, that pretty much put everything on hold. They finally finished the highway. I want to say it was around 1963 when they completed the highway. The very first day they opened the highway, a big tractor trailer truck happened to be in an accident. You know it, right in the dead zone. Closed the highway, had to clean up the accident and everything. And just since then, that area, that one little stretch, I mean, there's wrecks everywhere on that highway, but that one little stretch of highway, it's estimated since they opened it, there's been like 1,200 to 1,700 accidents in that one little area. And it doesn't look any different than any other part of the highway there. But it definitely has something. There's people that talk about, well, I know for a fact my cell phone never works there. Radio stations go in and out when you're in that area. Tons of people say, their cell phones go dead, their radio goes dead, static, electronic in their cars goes wacky. All kinds of weird stuff. People have reported seeing weird lights at night and stuff, lights over the highway, and just tons and tons of stories. You can Google it and look it up, the dead zone on I-4, and there's tons of stuff on there about it. But I know from experience, I was in a wreck there. I've seen every single time I've been on I-4, there's been a wreck somewhere along that highway, and most of them are concentrated. I swear to God, I'm nervous as hell driving through that area. I'm just like, oh, let me get through here, let me get over the bridge, and let me get out of here, because it's like running the gauntlet through there. You just don't know where it's going to come from. Anyways, pretty strange stories. Is it just people's imagination, or I don't? Every time I drive through there, I'm wondering if I'm driving over dead bodies. Kind of weird. Kind of makes you think. Kind of makes you go, Is it a big deal? I don't know. They've been dead a long time. Or are they still hanging around? Who knows? Anyways, leave me a comment if you've had any strange experiences on I-4, especially in the dead zone, that one little strip. And there's also some other little trippy areas around that area. There's another little town called Casadega that it has its own history as far as ghosts and supernatural and paranormal and all kinds of activities going on there. Me and my wife went over there one day, kind of spent the evening there cruising around, and there's all kinds of strange things, fortune tellers and ghost tours and all kinds of weird stuff kind of congregated in that one little area. It's definitely worth a visit. we're going to go back and stay the night in one of the hotels there. But anyways, that's enough of that. Like I say, it's a short one. And have you been down the dead zone? Have you driven over the dead zone? Through the dead zone? Leave me some comments if you have, or if you know anything about it. Who knows? You may have better stories than me on this one, but I can obviously say that every time I've been through that area and been on I-4, every single time I see a car wreck. Some of them not that big a deal, and some of them are just freaking horrific. Doesn't help that people drive like total lunatics either these days. But hey, it is what it is. It's known as the dead zone. Have you been there? Talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching as always, and we will talk to you soon.